The laughter started the moment he walked through the glass doors. James Sullivan stood at the entrance of Marcello's, an upscale Italian restaurant with marble floors and crystal chandeliers, wearing torn jeans, a faded jacket, and boots held together with duct tape. His graying beard was unkempt. His hands were calloused and dirty. To everyone inside, he looked exactly like what he was pretending to be, homeless. "Are you lost?" the hostess said, her smile tight and false. "I'd like a table," James replied quietly. The hostess exchanged glances with a server nearby. Someone snickered. "Sir, I don't think you can afford to eat here." James reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled $20 bill. "I have money." That's when the manager appeared. Angela, 38, sharp-featured and sharper-tongued, strode forward with her arms crossed. "We reserve the right to refuse service," she said coldly. "You're making our guests uncomfortable." James looked around. Several diners had turned to stare. Some whispered. One man held up his phone, recording. "I'm not causing trouble," James said. "I just want a meal." "Then go to a shelter," Angela snapped. Her voice carried across the restaurant. "We don't serve your kind here." A server named Derek laughed openly. "Dude, there's a McDonald's 2 blocks down." More laughter. Angela stepped closer, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "Leave now, or I'm calling the police." James held her gaze. His expression didn't change, calm, observant, quietly measuring every person in that room. "All right," he said softly. "I'll leave." As he turned toward the door, Angela muttered to Derek, loud enough for others to hear, "Can you believe the nerve? Coming in here like he belongs." What none of them knew was that James Sullivan didn't just belong. He could buy that restaurant 100 times over. And in 72 hours, he would own the entire building. 72 hours earlier, James Sullivan sat in his penthouse office overlooking the city skyline, staring at a financial report that made his stomach turn. His company, Sullivan Properties, owned over 200 commercial buildings across 15 states. He was worth $3.2 billion. And he was miserable. Not because of money. Because of what money had revealed. "Sir, the acquisition team is ready," his assistant said through the intercom. James didn't respond immediately. He was looking at a photograph on his desk, a faded Polaroid from 1997. A younger version of himself, 23 years old, sleeping on a subway bench with everything he owned in a garbage bag beside him. He'd been homeless for 14 months after his mother died and the foster system aged him out. No family. No degree. No prospects. He remembered the looks people gave him: disgust, fear, contempt. As if poverty were contagious. One person had changed everything. A restaurant owner named Mr. Chun who gave him a job washing dishes despite his appearance. No questions asked. Just kindness. That job became a paycheck. That paycheck became night school. Night school became a business degree. A degree became his first property investment. And 29 years later, James had built an empire. But lately, he'd been buying struggling properties and discovering why they failed. The common thread? Cruel management. Staff who treated vulnerable people like trash. Businesses that forgot humanity in pursuit of profit. So James had started conducting tests. He would dress as a homeless man and visit properties before acquiring them. He'd observe how staff treated someone they perceived as powerless. Those who passed his test received investment, renovation, and support. Those who failed? He bought them anyway. Then he cleaned house. Marcello's restaurant was next on his list. The building owner, desperate to sell, had already agreed to terms. All James needed was confirmation that his suspicions were correct. He'd gotten that confirmation the moment he walked through those glass doors. James walked slowly down the sidewalk outside Marcello's, but he didn't leave the area. He sat on a bench across the street, watching through the restaurant's large windows. Inside, the laughter continued. Derek, the 29-year-old lead server, was showing other staff something on his phone. "I got the whole thing on video," he said, grinning. "This is going on TikTok. Homeless guy tries fancy restaurant. It's gonna be hilarious." Angela walked past and glanced at the screen. "Make sure you tag the restaurant. Free publicity." One waitress, Maria, 26, stood at the bar folding napkins. She hadn't laughed. She hadn't said anything. But she'd watched it all happen, her expression troubled. "You okay?" another server asked her. "That was pretty harsh," Maria said quietly. Derek overheard. "Oh, come on. The guy was dirty. He smelled. You want him sitting next to you while you eat." "He was a human being," Maria said. "He was a bum," Angela corrected, walking over. "And if you have a problem with how I run this restaurant, Maria, maybe you should find somewhere else to work." Maria's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. She needed this job. Rent was due. Her younger brother's medical bills weren't going to pay themselves. Outside, James pulled out his phone. He scrolled through his contacts and dialed. "Robert? It's James. I need you to accelerate the Marcello's acquisition. I want ownership transferred by Friday." He paused. "Yes, I'm sure. And Robert? Draw up termination papers for the current management and front-of-house staff. I'll provide the list." He hung up and made a second call. "Mr. Castellano? This is James Sullivan. We spoke about your building last month. I'm prepared to offer 15% above asking price for immediate closure." Another pause. "Excellent. Have your attorney contact mine. I want this done in 72 hours. Across the street, Derek posted his video. Within an hour, it had 3,000 views. By tomorrow, it would have 300,000. But the ending would be very different from what Derek expected. Friday morning, 9:47 a.m. Angela was reviewing the lunch reservation list when the front door opened. She glanced up, ready with her professional smile. It vanished instantly. James Sullivan walked in. But he didn't look homeless anymore. He wore a charcoal Tom Ford suit, Italian leather shoes, and a watch worth more than Angela's annual salary. His beard was trimmed. His presence commanded the room. Behind him walked two people, a woman in a business suit carrying a briefcase, and Mr. Castellano, the building's owner, looking pale and nervous. "What?" Angela started. "You're Angela Martinez, correct?" the woman with the briefcase said. "General manager?" "Yes, but who?" "I'm Rebecca Kim, legal counsel for Sullivan Properties." She placed a document on the hostess stand. "As of 8 a.m. this morning, this building and all its contents have been acquired by Mr. James Sullivan. That includes Marcello's restaurant, which operates under a lease that has just been terminated." Angela's face went white. "That's impossible." James spoke for the first time, his voice calm but edged with steel. 3 days ago, I walked through those doors and asked for a table. Do you remember what you told me?" Recognition flashed across Angela's face. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Derek emerged from the kitchen. "Angela, what's—" He stopped dead when he saw James. "You posted a video," James said to Derek. "It went viral. 600,000 views as of this morning. Congratulations. You've made yourself famous." Derek's phone was already buzzing in his pocket. Comments were flooding in, but they weren't the ones he'd expected. "Who mocks a homeless person? This restaurant should be shut down. Boycott Marcello's." James turned to Rebecca. "Let's proceed." Mr. Castellano stepped forward, hands shaking. "Mr. Sullivan is now your landlord, Angela. And he's chosen not to renew your operations agreement." "You can't," Angela started. "I can," James interrupted. "I own this building. I own the lease. And I've decided that Marcello's, under current management, no longer represents the values I want in my properties. The color drained from Derek's face. You're the homeless guy. No, James said quietly. I'm the billionaire you mocked for looking homeless. There's a difference. Everyone gather here, James called out. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried authority. The entire front-of-house staff assembled in the dining room. 14 people in total. Some confused. Others terrified. James stood before them, Rebecca at his side with her briefcase open. My name is James Sullivan. I'm the founder and CEO of Sullivan Properties. 3 days ago, I came here dressed as a homeless man. It was a test. I do this with every property I consider acquiring. He paused, letting that sink in. Most of you failed. Angela tried to speak. Mr. Sullivan, if we'd known. That's exactly the point, James cut her off. You treated me with contempt because you thought I was powerless. You didn't know who I was, so you felt entitled to cruelty. He gestured to Rebecca, who began distributing papers. These are termination notices. Angela Martinez, terminated for discriminatory service practices. Derek Paulson, terminated for harassment and unauthorized social media posting of customers. Hostess staff, servers who participated in or encouraged the mockery, terminated. Effective immediately. You can't fire all of us. Derek shouted. I'm not firing all of you, James said. He turned toward the bar. Maria Torres. Step forward, please. Maria approached slowly, her heart pounding. You didn't laugh, James said. You told your co-workers what they did was harsh. You called me a human being when others called me a bum. Is that correct? Maria nodded, unable to speak. Congratulations. You're the new general manager of Marcello's. He handed her a contract. Salary is $75,000 annually, plus performance bonuses. You'll oversee the hiring of an entirely new staff. People who understand that every person who walks through that door deserves dignity. Tears filled Maria's eyes. I don't know what to say. Say you'll do better than they did. I will. I promise. James turned back to the terminated staff. Security will escort you out. You have 15 minutes to collect personal belongings. If you resist, you'll be charged with trespassing. 2 security officers stepped forward. Angela's face twisted with rage and humiliation. This is insane. You ruined our lives over one mistake. James met her eyes. No. You ruined your own lives by forgetting that kindness isn't optional. It's everything. One by one, they were escorted out. Justice, finally, was served. 3 months later. Marcello's reopened under new management. The interior had been renovated, warmer lighting, more welcoming decor. But the biggest change wasn't visible. Maria had hired a staff of 12. 6 of them were formerly homeless individuals who'd completed a culinary job training program James had funded. The program provided housing, skills certification, and guaranteed employment. One of those employees was a man named Thomas, 47, who'd been living in his car for 8 months after losing his construction job. Now he was Marcello's headline cook, earning a living wage and rebuilding his life. James visited on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Maria greeted him at the door with a genuine smile. How's business? He asked. Better than ever, Maria said. Once word got out about what you did, and why, people started coming just to support us. We're booked solid on weekends. James nodded, satisfied. And your brother? Maria's eyes softened. The surgery went well. He's recovering. I could never thank you enough for the medical assistance fund. You earned it, James said simply. He walked through the restaurant, observing the new staff interacting with customers. Respectful. Attentive. Kind. This was what hospitality was supposed to look like. Before leaving, James paused at the entrance. The same glass doors he'd walked through 3 months ago. He remembered the laughter,
the contempt, the humiliation.
But he also remembered Mr. Chun, the restaurant owner who'd given a homeless 23-year-old a chance when no one else would. That kindness had changed James's entire life trajectory. And now, he was paying it forward. Derek's viral video was still online. But the narrative had shifted.
Comments now read:
"This is what accountability looks like. Billionaire buys restaurant and fires staff who mocked homeless man, legend. Never judge someone by their appearance. You never know who they really are." James stepped outside into the afternoon sun. Some people see the homeless and look away. Others see human beings who deserve dignity. The difference between those two perspectives? It determines not just who we are, but who we become. Sometimes, the person you mock today owns your tomorrow. Kindness isn't optional. It's everything.